All right. So here we were talking about the Medical Act regulations. Yeah. So this guy has the authority to dismiss a complaint if the complaint cannot be substantiated, and also if he doesn't, request any kind of additional uh, materials to be investigated, right? So she was not asked to provide a written response to the complaint and all that stuff. So, all right, we're going to continue on because there's lots and lots of material to cover. All right, so there's no reasonable or sufficient reliable evidence, but I didn't request any. But then, the matter's dismissed. All right, so that's a number one job. So actually, you know what? He did his job very, very well. All right, so this is Gus Grant, right? And he's got a whole bunch of, credentials and all that stuff. But if you can imagine, right, he did his job according to the act, right? The matter is dismissed. So that's the number one thing they are tasked to do. They're not tasked to investigate complaints. They are not. They don't. That's the last thing that they want is to find, a doctor, guilty of wrongdoing. I mean, it's completely backwards. And this here's the proof. I mean, and this leads us to a very reasonable um, inference is that the only thing that they want to do is to dismiss the complaint, and that, but it is so blatantly obvious that this is a fake oversight. I mean, he should have spent a little bit more time to make it look like a fair and independent investigation. He should have spent a little bit more time because that's all they have to do, and they have all day to do it, right? All right. So, but anyway, we got to continue because there's so much stuff to cover. All right, so here's the appeal. Right, so this is a review, and this is an appeal. All right, so and that is permitted under Section 90 of the Medical Act regulations. And then, again, Section 90, the first thing that they want to do is to affirm the dismissal. That's the number one thing they're interested in. But you can read this here. But I do have to continue on. But the problem is that it was based on procedural grounds. So they were basing it not upon the merits of the case at all, but on the procedures. But they failed to ask for more evidence or something like that. And they just basically took they said, oh, this guy's not the father. That's great. We can dismiss the complaint very, very easily because he's not the father. But that fails, right? There is a failure in logic there. And I've highlighted that because this is a public interest matter. It's not just a private dispute, and just because of the fact that the woman was successfully deceived, which was the whole basis for my claim, right? The Dr. Dow deceased patients. So the woman didn't complain because she's deceived, but the father doesn't have the right to complain because she wasn't he wasn't the patient, although there's no illness. I don't know why they would call this woman a patient. There's no illness. There's a why a prescription. If there's no illness, why is there a prescription, right? But anyway, so this is how circular the circular flawed logic works. So the woman was successfully deceived by Dr. Dow, and I state that in my claim. And then, there is no complaint by the woman, but then I'm 50% the father. So I said, well, hey, this guy cannot have the right to complain because he's just the father. He didn't get the prescription. But you see, it's informed consent. It's more than just a private dispute. It is a matter of public interest. And so forth. We do have to continue going. So my complaint is very valid, and for them to dismiss it on the technicality surely shows that the college's oversight process is not, there's a certain lack of confidence here, and it's clear by this publication here that the college, and this is the part of it where it gets so freaky. And we're stepping into dark territory. This is frightful. This is very, very eerie, right? This is the stuff of a thousand nightmares. How they would go above and beyond to try everything they can to protect the baby killing machine from going. It's just so. I mean, they're willing to look over medical neglect, gross violations, and all this stuff. Just to keep the so we should reopen the complaint and require Dr. Dow to provide a written response. So, all right, did she provide the actual abortifacient, the information that these birth control pills do not prevent a conception, but they are actually abortion pills basically? No, she didn't, right? I certainly would like to know. I don't want to know anything at this point. I just want her to get her license revoked because she's a very, very dangerous woman. And this is an extremely dangerous woman. She kills so many people, and the fact that these people here will go above and beyond to the Nova Scotia government is exceedingly guilty of killing the next generation, literally killing the. But Dr. Michel Dell is their foot soldier. With the backing of the government and the pharmaceutical industry, she has full liberty to just, to completely destroy the whole next generation. And I mean destroy. I mean completely just kill the baby. Right? It's ridiculous how the government and the pharmaceutical industry has so much. Um, Power over the government that they can implement these types of oversight committees and everything like that. And this is another story unto itself. I mean, this has gone to the lengths that. Anyway, so then you can read this if you're interested. But basically, she's basically saying a whole lot of nothing. But we're going to have an appeal notification, which we're going to see right now. So the appeal is over here. All right, so this is the appeal. So we got three people. We got Mr. Douglas Roy, which is a lawyer, Dr. Colin Newman, and Dr. Rebecca Z. Well, Dr. Colin Newman, he's the guy that will prescribe birth control pills, and Dr. Rebecca Z, this Asian descended doctor, lady doctor, will be a gynecologist. So of course there's conflict there. So they're asking if there's any conflict, and I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, of course. And then inquiry regarding the potential conflict of interest. And you can read this if you're interested, but basically the embryology, the recognition of the embryology's definition of conception, right? So the moment of fertilization, that's when a baby is, conceived, and 50% DNA from the father and 50% DNA from the mother. That's when that single, very, very wonderful moment, the starting of life. All right. So, but the problem is that these gynecologists will pretend that implantation is the starting of life to do what? To be able to prescribe birth controls. That's the only reason. That's literally the only reason. All right. So yeah, we want to we want to recognize the science, the actual science of embryology and all that stuff. We don't want to have this kind of false politically friendly version of well, life starts at implantation. It is not. I mean, there's nobody that will that understands science that will put forward that argument. The only reason that you don't have that kind of stuff is to be able to prescribe birth control pills, and it would say, well, we don't actually kill the baby, but you do. I mean, you do kill the baby. So and then they have a new definition of conflict of interest here. The college's definition of conflict. Here it is. Here we go. They have these words, conflict of interest, which the conflict of interest is clear. I mean, is this family doctor going to lose money if he doesn't prescribe birth control pills? Is this gynecologist, does she have a conflict of interest? Meaning, does she, is she trained that the, implantation is the starting of life, right? Is there? But no, this is the college's definition of conflict. Whatever. I mean, and now you have to look at what their definition of conflict is. And there's, these types of, guidelines about all the stuff. These government goons are always making these new definitions for these words that we know to be a conflict of interest, right? So let's say, for example, these birth control pills are banned, right? Because they, kill babies. Would this doctor, would this doctor's pocketbook be impacted, right? Would that hurt his bottom line? It certainly would, because they're getting kickbacks from the pharmaceutical industry. All right, so, and we are, she's not answering my question, right? So there's a financial conflict of interest, a definition of conception here. All that stuff was not, and now, beyond these specific issues, it's now painfully obvious that the college's primary goal is to dismiss this complaint on any technicality possible, rather than to conduct a legitimate investigation. If this were a true oversight process, the college would actively investigate these allegations, demand a response from Dr. Dow, and work towards an unbiased determination based on facts, not loopholes. Instead, you're sweeping this under the rug and hoping I won't notice. And I'm not naive. I'm not naive, and I certainly am not ignorant of what is happening here. If you are going to dismiss this case regardless of the evidence, I ask that you at least put in the effort to make it appear legitimate. Right now, it's clear that this is not an investigation, it's a predetermined cover-up. So what I was saying earlier about, this guy, that's all he does, right? He dismisses claims, right? That's his legit job is to do what, right? How am I going? He gets a claim on his desk, on the in pile. Oh, there's a claim. Okay, how am I? Before even opening up the claim, he says, "How am I going to dismiss this claim?" Which, a true oversight committee, they should look at. In an impartial manner, the claims and see, okay, how can I get more information about these claims? And if the claims are vexatious or something like that, then they will dismiss. But no, that's not how he does it. He says, how can we cover this up? What is the best way to dismiss this claim? So that's the only thing he has to do, and he's got all day to do it, right? That's the only thing that he has to do, and he has all day to do it. To do what? To cover up, to cover. So at least make it look presentable. Make the dismissal look presentable. I mean, you're absolutely just failing your own office. I mean, just make the dismissal look as somewhat presentable. I mean, you're not even trying. This is all you have to do, and you have all day to do it. Literally all day to do it. I mean, that's what you're getting paid to do, is to dismiss the claims. Just make it look presentable. All right. So anyway, let's continue on because we got a lot of stuff to cover. I've forward your concerns to the Independent Review Committee. All right. This is the good stuff. All right. So here's we're not going to read everything here, but the process is operating backwards, where the primary goal is not to conduct a fair and impartial investigation, but to uphold a predetermined dismissal at all costs. So, I mean, it's very, very clear that Gus was not engaged in an unbiased fact-finding mission, but rather a process specifically designed to dismiss complaints. And he didn't even make it look presentable, like I said, So independent review is to rectify errors in judgment, not merely rubber-stamp dismissals. So the egregious nature of this complaint demands such a review. All right, so, and if you're interested here, you can read that. Lots and lots of material. We're going to continue on because basically what I'm asking them to do is overturn the dismissal and to investigate properly. All right, so let's continue on. All right, let's continue on. And this is the guy. This guy looks actually he looks like a stand-up guy, right? He's got some defense counsel experience and all this stuff. He's a lawyer. All right, so I'll read this one. As a member of the King's Council, your duty to truth, integrity, and justice must remain steadfast regardless of the shifting tides of public sentiment or the prevailing norms of any given era. The legal profession at its core is a guardian of fairness, and it is in that spirit that I appeal to you to ensure that justice is done in this case. The dismissal of my complaint was not a neutral decision grounded in an objective review of the facts, but rather a predetermined outcome designed to avoid scrutiny. It is clear that the regulatory body is acting in reverse, seeking technicalities to justify dismissal rather than investigating the truth. This is not oversight. This is a failure of duty. You, however, are not bound to such failures. You are not obligated to affirm an erroneous decision simply because it was made by a peer within the regulatory framework. Justice requires more. It requires a genuine effort to seek truth, not the mere confirmation of convenience. I urge you to overturn this flawed dismissal, not because the blood of my child cries from the ground, but because the principles you have sworn to uphold demand it. The legal profession does not exist to shield wrongdoing, but to expose it, and you are uniquely positioned to ensure that justice is done. So do not, I hope this guy does not bring the administration of justice into disrepute. Mr. Douglas Loy, King's Counsel. And we do have to go, but I did write a Dr. Colin, and if you basically I said, if you cannot rule in an impartial way, just recuse yourself. I mean and then Dr. Rebecca Z. Washington, I mean she's a gynecologist, right? So we gotta, this is the beginning of it, of life, the beginning of pregnancy. This is the according to who? The College of Gynecologists? No, according to embryology. We gotta go. Thank you very much for tuning in, and that concludes the matter up to date. We are here the 27th of February 2025. Thank you very much for tuning in.